Germany will hold federal elections this Sunday, which are expected to change the balance of parliament. Last week, Vice President J.D. Vance met with the head of the far-right German group Alternative for Germany Party, known as AfD. While in Munich, Vice President Vance gave a speech arguing that German politicians should work with far-right parties like the AfD. And we wanted to take a closer look at the group and how this weekend's elections could give them more influence in German politics. So the group was founded in 2013 as part of a backlash to increasing migration into Germany from African and Middle Eastern nations, along with Germany's role in the EU. Its influence has waxed and waned over the past 12 years, but recent polling has it in second place for Sunday's upcoming election, 7 points ahead of the incumbent party. Last year, it won control of an Eastern German state government, marking the first time since World War II that a far-right group won leadership control of a state. But since its founding, the AfD has been condemned for using racist language in policy proposals, like a plan to deport anyone with a migrant background out of Germany, including German citizens. The nation's domestic intelligence agency is investigating the AfD as a suspected extremist organization, and 3 of its branches in East Germany have been designated as, quote, proven right-wing extremist groups. The AfD has created so much outrage during its existence that German politicians have enforced an unofficial so-called firewall, not an outright ban, to prevent any AfD members from participating in parliament. So this means the party is not invited to join a coalition government. Any bills it puts forward are opposed, and legislators will not work with it to pass legislation. Recently, the firewall was actually breached when Germany's opposition leader brought forward a non-binding motion to call on more migrants to be turned away at the country's borders. The motion passed because of the AfD, the first time a far-right party has been involved in passing legislation since World War II. Recently, some lawmakers advocated for a proposal to ban the AfD as a political party, something that is legal under German law if the party poses a threat to basic democratic order. Germany's parliament has only done so twice since World War II. While the measure did not move forward, politicians supporting it argued it was necessary to highlight the AfD's extremism. Chris Lunday is a reporter for Politico and has been following Germany's election, and he joins me now. So thank you for being here. We know support for AfD is on the rise, but the center-right CDU is polling a bit higher this election as well. What happened to the incumbent, more left-leaning party?
Yeah, that's really a great question. I think the Social Democrats, Olaf Scholz, who is the leader of the Social Democratic Party, is the center left, have really fallen to a historic low. Basically, 14% is the worst performance that they've had. And the Social Democrats have really had a problem in the past few years. They've had a real challenge with all the issues facing them, from Ukraine to the inflation to the economic situation as a whole. It's not really an excuse, though, for the reputation that they've had in the German public, which is that they just can't get things done. They've promised to digitize the industry-heavy economy, which didn't happen. They were constantly fighting with their coalition partners about public spending, and that led to the ultimate breakup of the coalition. But there's been serious infighting around the Ukraine situation as well, beyond German borders. There have been month-long discussions for the past years about, in public debates, on weapons deliveries and further aid. And that really puts Germany in a weak position against a strongman dictator like Vladimir Putin.
What are the biggest issues in this election? And if the polling that Politico is tracking ends up being relatively accurate, how will Germany's government change?
Well, we can definitely expect a old school conservative government to return to Germany, even further before the times of maybe the 90s or the times of Angela Merkel. So expect harder migration, lower taxes, and lower regulation. Friedrich Merz and his conservative party, the Christian Democrats, are polling very far in first place. They're probably around 10 points ahead of the AfD. And who they govern with will really depend on how many small parties will make it into the parliament. In Germany, a party needs to get at least 5% of the vote to participate in parliament. So the fewer small parties get in, the less votes Friedrich Merz will need to form a coalition and ultimately become the chancellor. But one thing is for sure, the chance of having a coalition with the AfD is pretty much slim to none, as Merz has really ruled out this time and time again for the past month, especially since he doesn't want to break down the political firewall, as you mentioned, to the far right that holds strong in Germany's political culture after World War II. If that firewall were really to come down, it would probably be a scandal that we've never seen before in Germany.
I got to be quick with you on this last one, but German officials have raised the alarm about Russian-linked disinformation campaigns in this election. What can you tell us?
There's a lot of it. Well, X has been sued, for example, here in Berlin for the spread of misinformation or not actually providing documents to make its data transparent about users. And disinformation really has been running rampant recently. The most common case that we have that's also happened in the US election last year is that there's this group that is owned or run by two Russian companies that mimics websites like, for example, Der Spiegel, which is really popular here in Germany, or the tabloid Bild. And they spread false information that is picked up by the Kremlin, spread through Russian sites, and makes its way back through into legitimate German websites, even though that the initial plan was to mimic those websites. So they've really taken a big part in influencing public opinion because nobody knows what's real and what's not anymore at certain points.
Chris Lunday, thank you for your reporting.